Hello everybody and welcome to Busy Brain Tinkering with me, Anders Wadman. Today I thought I was gonna cheat a little. Well, I already made a knife. Sorry guys, you missed it. However, now I thought I was gonna do a sheath for it, a leather sheath. I thought every maker in the history of making and YouTube have made a knife making video. Although, not very many sheaths. That's sort of a parenthesis in the end. And I know, I don't blame you. I know myself that when the knife is finally done, you've even made the blade, heat treating and tempering, all that, handle, and you put this beautiful finish of it, and it's finally done. And you realize, shit, I have a third left. So I thought today we were gonna focus only on the sheath. I don't know how common it is outside Scandinavia, but this is, we call it rårandsläder, to avoid any misunderstandings. I believe it's called half-tanned leather. There you see, you have a white line in the middle of the leather, which means this is partially rawhide. You have, well, it's tanned from both sides, but not entirely tanned through, which leaves this layer in the middle that is still raw. Which means this is quite stiff, hard. I mean, this I can bend, but once it's sewn together to a sheath, it's hard. Which means you can make details of knives that is quite different from others. You can really get that tight fit. This is something what the sheath will look like later. Now, the first thing I will do is to mummify the knife. That is, we wanna create, because we can't mold the leather onto the knife as it is. Some people use or on some knives you want to use a sheath liner, sort of a case that the blade goes inside of, and then you sew the leather on top of that. I don't want to use that. I like to dress my knives with tape and cardboard and sort of make a mold of it. This is what the knife will look like when we sew the leather on it, but we want to get quite an exact measuring when we measure out how much leather we're gonna use. So I'm gonna put another layer of food wrapping on this and then tape it. Now it's fully mummified. The edge is right here on that side. Therefore, as I'm a righty, I want to hang it in the belt with the belt behind it like this. So that means we want the seam to be on the back side, which is this side. The seam is gonna go right here, straight as possible, down here. And we have the thickest part here, and I think the sheath will go up to right here. Right now we're gonna cut this, and that is the one of the nerve-wracking parts of this. Here comes the tricky part. We're gonna have to transfer this to a paper. 1 second. Okay. Not really centered there, but I think that'll do good. Now we have about 3.5 millimeter thick leather. So that means we're gonna have to extend this a little. Also, we need something to sew in. So that will be a few millimeters extra, and also the leather will shrink for 4 or 5 millimeters on each side. I think 5. That looks good.
The shrinkage of the leather can vary quite a bit, so these 5 millimeters are just some trial and error, but of course it's better to start big and then adjust it down. I'm cutting this dry here. You can do this wet, but then you will have quite much shrinkage extra to adjust. Even if it's sometimes tempting to cut the leather directly, try to always use these sort of paper templates, because you can always you can draw, you can cut them out, you can test them, you can adjust, and it's a lot easier to find any mistakes you made. Now I'm chamfering the sides where the seams are going at a 45-ish degree angle, and you want the cut to go through the first tanned layer, or the inside of the sheath, and also just through the raw part, but not longer, because you need some leather to stitch in, to sew in.
Okay, now I've cut the edges for the seams. It's quite okay. And also I have chamfered the top here. For some of you watching this, a lot of these tools may be new to you, but I gotta tell you, most of them are quite cheap. Just go on eBay or Amazon or the likes of those. Okay, now we have this groove along the edges, and now I'm gonna use this tool, and I just made a little fix on this one. I don't know if you can see this, but this spike right there I twisted with just a pair of pliers, so that one I can keep track of. That way I can count the stitches with this one, because we want the same amount of holes or stitches along both sides, or the end will be uneven and it will try to draw to the side and so on. It'll be ugly. So I just push this odd fellow right here up to the edge, and so we have 2 full revolutions plus one spike. That's those final 2 down there. Now I will use this awl, and I will make holes. I will punch holes with this diagonally and poke out right in the middle, or maybe a little on the inside of this raw part. And I will skip the first hole because the leather is quite weak up here, as we made this top chamfer, and also that makes room for a little flexibility to let the knife in and out of there. And since the leather itself is quite stiff, that will hold the knife in place. And if we make, and this is murder on your hands, yeah, that came out, if we're in focus, right in the middle, maybe a little bit inside. Perfect. So I will make a lot of these and probably complain over my sore index finger once I'm done. Okay, so last part there was not very proud of, but hopefully it'll work. Also, those 2 last marks I will not make holes in right yet. Maybe I'll do that when I sew this up. Oh, I hate this part. Well, okay, it's done. And that's actually quite a good size for that. Nice. And on the other side, and Okay, those are the holes for the belt loop. Now we're gonna wet this again and start sewing. Here is a little trick I like to use. Twist this thread, then stick the needle through. Try to get as close to the middle, or you part the thread in two equal. And then you just pull this, twist it and pull. And it sticks, it sort of locks onto itself.
I'm starting to sew about 3 holes down and start upwards to the top end of the sheath and then go down. And that's because I want the top to be a bit stronger. It will be cramped in the holes, so try not to stick the needle through any of the threads, because that will mess things up. Also, I am doing it quite loose here, tightening it, and then in the end here I'm fastening the belt loop.
And down again through that one. But he doesn't want to!
You have to align the leather to the knife before you start tightening the seam, or it will stick. And once you've done that, you have to start tightening, and it's a bit of detective work trying to find the right threads or the right loops to tighten. But finally, one gets there.
Oh, there you are, you little bugger.
Don't do too many stitches at a time, because you'll notice the arrows when you're tightening them. And here I had a little visit in the shop too.
Hey, Papa. Ah! There you are. Hey, Papa.
When you get this far, look out for any signs that the sheath is twisting, and try to keep the seam straight. Right here I do just 1 stitch backwards once I reach the end, and then go in but not through, and then just make a knot of it. And here I'm just evening out the leather.
It's been no time. For me it's been a weekend of skiing, and for this one to dry. And as you might see, it's gotten quite a bit brighter as it dried. Don't worry, I will stain this later. It's some sort of rubber pads to unscrew stuck lids on glass jars. So it's really high friction. So I'm just gonna go for it and grab the handle with one and the sheath with one. And it's stuck. Have to test this. Oh! Did you hear that? That's an incredible fit. I can do this all day long. I actually used this the last time. Just a hook, get down there, all the way to the bottom, turn a few, and you have hooked it. A little drop of CA glue at this knot. Oh, I don't know, it's smudged out. I want precise. That boy. That will have to be transferred to this, and I will actually do this back way. So I'm just making more. And one on each side. There we go.
I'm using the same stitching technique here, almost, and while doing this before sewing up the sheath would have been way better, but it worked, and I will try to be a little less eager next time and plan up better.
I'm gonna let this dry for a bit and then just touch up this a little bit. And I think I'll be done with this. Alright everybody, it's finished. And the fit of this is just perfect. You know, it's always that final touch-up, that final thing that I wish I hadn't done that. And that is the waxing on this. I don't know if you see, I'm gonna take a peek behind the camera. Ah, right there, you see. Because I stained this, and probably either the leather had some wax still on it from the stitching, from the thread, since it's a waxed thread. I probably, let's say, contaminated the leather a bit. So the staining didn't, it stuck, but it didn't really penetrate into the leather. So that's probably why when I try to wax this up on the buffing wheel, it sort of scraped off the stain instead. So yeah, it's not what I thought it would be, but still, it's got a little rough look on it. It's not bad. That's most of the way how to make a leather, half-tanned leather sheath for a knife. And just like all cool people on YouTube do, subscribe and like, if you like. And also down here you can find my Instagram. I post there a lot more frequently than I find the time to film and above all edit these videos, because they take a ton of time. So, until next time, see ya!